Awesome. So thanks everyone for joining us. We're up to 28 people in this room today. That's quite amazing. So this is the Atala PRISM and Self-Sovereign Identity room. There are many familiar faces in the room. And the first thing we do in this room is just check in to see if anybody needs information to help them through the Atala PRISM Pioneer Program, or if anybody has any general SSI questions. Any hands?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Hi, Anushka. Yeah, this is Ed. I asked last week and I ended up going to the AtalaPrism.io and signed up for Plutus Pioneer or Prism Pioneers and didn't hear back anything, but I would love to get access to the API and to interact with it. And I understand there's username and password as part of that, and as well as the whatever's documented on GitHub is, I think, also a permissioned repository. Is that all part of onboarding?
Yes, that is all part of onboarding onto the Pioneer program. There's a couple terms and conditions that you'd sign when you get given access to all of that information.
That makes sense.
So what's currently happening is on the 19th, which is on Friday, we are stopping the self-paced Atala PRISM Pioneer program, and we're upgrading the content to a newer version, and we're releasing Atala PRISM version 1.4.1 later in the month. So early next month, we will kick off the foundations of SSI. We'll do an internal test. Then we'll do a test with the CSSIA members, and then we will open up to the backlog of people that have registered. So the list of people that have registered. So you will hear from us in about maybe 4 weeks.
Okay, so there'll be a waiting period, and I'll need to find another avenue. Okay, thanks.
If you desperately need access to the code base, what I can ask you to do is maybe I'll give you Lohan Spiss's office hours and see if there's any way in which the team can assist.
I'd appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Esteban, I don't know if you know whether the team can assist in any way off the cuff, or whether we should just get Lohan to assist here.
So for giving access to the API, you mean?
Yep.
You can contact me as well. I can help you with that.
Okay, please put your office hours in the chat. Maybe what I can do for you, Ed, is I can send you an email to sign up for the PRISM Pioneer program, like today or tomorrow, so that you sign the terms and conditions at least. And then Esteban can just make sure you have access. But if you go through the first week, you should get all the accesses you need. So I can do that this evening for you.
Oh, I'd appreciate that so much, Anushka. And Esteban, I'll sign up for your office hours too. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay.
James. I see a hand. Oh no, it's my mouse. It's not James's hand. Sorry, James.
You're good.
Sorry about that. Okay, are there any more hands? No more hands.
Like your logo, yeah.
Yeah, it's my mouse was. It's a funny day today. Okay, so next up we have Tim O'Brien, who will take us through a demo of Dominion, was it? The name of the application that the team has built, as well as integrated into Atala PRISM now. And Tim will also talk about some of the use cases that they've been working on. And this is quite exciting because it feels like there's more wallets and more applications integrating into PRISM, which makes things really exciting. So well done, Tim. I'm going to hand over to you now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, this project is kind of a little bit unusual because we started with grants from Accelerating Decentralization and also a grant to build an application under nation building. And originally we thought this would just be integration with Atala PRISM, but we just sort of over time we started looking at it and realizing we were getting very close to just implementing our own DID infrastructure. So that from that arose Dominium, and I think it differentiates itself from a lot of other projects in that we're specifically driven to the community, being non-commercial. Whereas if you look at like applications, say on Algorand or something, they tend to be very commercial. So originally the schedule, I wanted to go over an interview and sort of give context to the demo, but I have my chief of engineering here staying up late at night, Wing Han, and I think he has the demo set up in his machine. So I think it'd be better if we just start the demo and make some notes, and then I'll answer the questions and give context later, if that works. So go ahead, Wing, if you can give the demo. Start the demo.
Oh yes. Hi everyone. I'm Wing from the Fuixlabs development team. So today I'm very happy to be here today to show you the demonstration of our product. Let me first try to share my screen. All right, could you see it, my screen?
Yes, it's showing. Yes.
Okay, okay, good. So first, let me log into my Nami wallet. So this product is about issue the papers. Okay, so I will go through two key features of the product, which is one of them is to create and issue a document, and we use a file called configuration to define the forms with the data fields inside. One of them is we call open cert certificate, just a simple form. And we have the example data here, which is preset. I will try to modify an information here. All right, then we can even upload a signature to this document. So I can turn to the preview mode to see how it will look like after the creation and issuance. Right here, this is the signature sample that I uploaded. So then I will go to issuing the documents, which requires my signing from the wallet. It would take a while to write the data to our storage as well as the blockchain of Cardano. All right, it's done. So later on, if to whomever I want to prove myself certified for like this program or something, I can download this file and send it to him. then he can go to our verification page and drop this file into. And boom, this is a verified document. If it's not, like, I would try to modify a field which makes it not legitimate again, no longer legitimate. Like, I will fake my name. Change to someone else's names. Then if I verify it again, it should be failed. Like you see, the document is not valid. And yeah, that's pretty much it about the two of the key features of this product. So I think Tim will continue to the next part of the talk.
Okay, thanks,
everyone.
Wayne. Appreciate it. Can get some sleep now. Okay, why don't I what's the name of my keynote here? I will load the load the deck and we can get started. Fuixlabs did.
You are seeing your screen.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, Tim.
Okay, cool. So yeah, let's get started. So this is a collaboration between Fuixlabs. We're a development company in Vietnam, and we're now working largely in Web3 development. And we did self-sovereign identity is definitely part of Web3. So I think the trying to move this here. Just a second while I get this. Guess I can't. Okay, so I think we went through the demo. I'm gonna just quickly run over sort of the ideas around DID and self-sovereign identity. Just get us all, particularly if there's anybody here that's new to DID, self-sovereign identity, give them a quick background. And then look at our projects, look at our, go a little deeper into Dominium, and then look at some of the sort of how we've use cases that we've encountered, how we've solved it by using self-sovereign identity, and then briefly touch on future directions and then take questions. I'm gonna really have a problem here if, 1 second, I have to move this Skype thing. Skype window's away, so there's 1 second. All right, that's better. Okay, so let's go. So we've gone through 3 stages of identity. We started out with centralized identity, and I think we're still using that a lot. So you go in, you create an account, you log into each of the sites, each of them you create a password, and then that site that you log into basically maintains your data. So anything that you need to interact with that application, the data is owned by that application. So we tried a little bit. That had some problems, like for instance, your password has to, you have to have a different password for every application that you log into. And then you have the problem as you're going between applications, you have to constantly log in. So that arises to systems like OpenID, where you see this, you can click on an icon and automatically log in. Now we're into decentralized IDs. So it's basically we can keep a password in our wallet and interact with the blockchain. And then when we interact with applications, we own our data. So we can decide what to share with the entities that we're logging into. So as I mentioned, Dominium is our full DID implementation that implements self-sovereign identity and is designed for flexibility and reuse. And we'll go over some of the use cases later. So I just want to, this is kind of like your basic scenario. You'll see this graph on wherever you see literature on self-sovereign identity. There are basically three players here. There's the issuer. It issues your identity, like the government would issue your state ID. The holder.
Tim,
like,
so I think that at least me, I keep seeing the first slide. I don't know the rest.
Oh, I don't know.
Now I see the presentation. Not in a presentation mode, but it's
maybe I will just keep it in this mode then, because yeah, I don't know how to fix it otherwise. Okay. Okay. Yeah, thanks for calling that out. Yeah, so I think when it's, you know, when you hear about DID, it sounds really complicated, but it's really it's very analogous to things that we're very familiar with. So it's always good to start out by looking at things that we're trying to relate something to what we know about. So the core, the three roles you have in DID are the issuer, the holder, and the inspector verifier. And the issuer would be, you can think of the analogy of a state ID. The issuer would be your state. The holder would be the person that you issue to. And the inspector verifier, this is maybe not exactly correct because this can actually be a component that verifies your ID. And then you'd have an identifier storage or trusted repository, it's called. So so the first step is to digitize the object, and we call this verifiable presentations. So DID provides us with a specification that lets us have identifiers, the credential metadata, which could be pretty much anything, and then what we call claims. So if I wanted to say somebody was, let's say Wing was a employee of Fuixlabs, I could issue a claim. And then of course there's some cryptographic things we need to do to make sure that if this document is ever altered, that it can never be used. And I think that's one of the things our demo just showed. So, sorry, that's wrong. So Dominium is a DApp and that connects to a a number of servers that collaborate to provide the service, to provide the full DID architecture. So there are many components to DID. I won't go over each one of them, but each entity has a URL, and just like on many web applications, you have a routing router that directs the request to the correct services. Then often you also have a controller, which actually can be a physical component, which is authorized to make changes in your database. And in our application, and one of our use cases was for allowing farmers in Ghana and Kenya to be able to upload data like soil assays, for instance. So we didn't want to make them use an expensive database. So we use an API on GitHub, which is basically a NoSQL database. And in this GitHub, we keep, and this is kind of very important, you keep a DID, which is like only metadata. So you never reveal in the DID any important information. The DID can have a URL reference, basically, to another document. And the DID will have information that's used by the controller to tell you how to cryptographically verify it, the public key of the owner, and it's non-normative, so other sort of metadata that you would consider to be okay or publicly available. So when you want to access a document, you have to go through this hierarchy, it's a microservices architecture, and then access the DID. The DID will tell the controller information to allow it to authenticate the requester, provide information on who can modify the document, who can read it, who can delete it, and that can return. And then if those criteria are met, then the information can be returned to the invoker, who, if he's the owner, actually has the ability to decrypt the private information. So in this way, you see the information is always encrypted unless the owner wants to fetch it. And then when the owner fetches the data, the owner can decrypt it. And there can be hierarchies here. So when you talk about data, it's not only one single piece of data, it can also be, for instance, credentials that are associated with a DID, and even what they call a trust graph. So, you could have, for instance, one of these data could be a university, an assertion that you have a university degree, and then you'd want to see who made that assertion, then what university, and then you'd want to see if that university was accredited. So there could actually be a parsing of a trust graph. But either way, the important thing to remember here is the data that's in the document itself is always encrypted, and nobody touches that encryption key except the owner of that document. Okay. So I'm going to talk about some of our use cases here. So it's not always obvious, but we have kind of like one long range goal, kind of our vision, and all of our Catalyst projects kind of fall within that vision. And that vision is basically to take the produce from a small landholder farmer and deliver it to the table of somebody in the global north. So and do that as efficiently as possible and return as much of the revenue back to the small landholder farmer. So that's kind of our grand vision that binds things together and kind of makes everything to us more like pieces of one project. So if you look at what it really takes to move produce from the farm, let's say in Ghana or Kenya, to the table, let's say the US or Europe, the farmer usually has to sells it to what's called an agent. And the agent is just the guy who knows how to pack it, create a package list, who has can fill out the paperwork, and who can, in some cases, work with a banker who can, provide letters of credit. Then it has to go across a shipping company, and finally arrives at the table. It's an abbreviated version. So two guys here are middlemen, the banker and the agent. So, and if we go back here, we see that the farmer only takes 1% of his crop. The agent can take up to 60%. The banker usually 10 to 15%, and then the rest to the shipper. So I guess the shipper, you can't cut the shipper out. Shipper's not really a disposable middleman, but by using technologies in the projects that we built with DID, we move a little closer towards connecting the farmer directly to the table. So part of that is what we call paperless cross-border transactions. So right now, all the paper is all the like bills of lading, all the trade documents are actually paper-based. So that makes it very hard to try to do any kind of like automated form filling. So it really makes the agent's job essential. It also causes a big bottleneck. Statistics are like 30% of perishable goods like fruits and vegetables actually spoil in the warehouse waiting for customs processes. And yeah, and then so we're working with agencies in the Singaporean government, with the Singaporean government themselves. What they do is harmonize documents, and then so far doing trials with like Dubai, Australia, China, I think Malaysia. There's about 6 countries have signed up to this. Germany has partially signed up to this, so that we can go from using paper-based documents to a more automated approach with paperless documents. So so we have 2 projects that one of our projects is managing these paperless documents. And this is what Wing just showed. This application allows, largely it's a bill of lading to be issued in one country. The bill of lading can then be transferred to a number of third parties like agents, and sorry, not agents, like finance companies, let's say banks, maybe issuing letters of credit. So these paperless documents are then circulated amongst the trade organizations and financial institutions, and they need to be traced, and then they need to be verified. So you can't really take a document, so somebody can't forge a document and send to somebody. So for this is one of the use cases that we built Dominium around. And I think it should be noticed that we immediately realize this is kind of like the general case, because if let's say we're issuing university degrees, well, it's the same thing. We have basically a schema that tells us what the fields are in the document, and that schema can be edited, or we can upload a new schema, and then the web has a dynamic form to fill out elements in that schema. So this turns out to be a very broad kind of use case that you're going to see in education, you're going to see in just identity, filling out a state identity for somebody who's been undocumented. So it's very flexible. In like 2 hours, you can create these schemas, and then you have a completely customized application. So I think the question here is like, where are we going? What's the future here for the application? And one of our products is the metaverse builder. So our supply chain management food traceability application that we're using in Africa, we actually built it as a metaverse after a lot of UX trials. So now we're moving towards a general metaverse builder, and identity will be huge in the metaverse. So we're integrating and building plugins so that a metaverse can integrate directly with Dominium. Another thing that we have, it's also a Fund 9, is something called token gating. So token gating allows a website to customize their experience based on an NFT. So some part of that customization would be to go off into the DID infrastructure, use your wallet information, and then in your DID storage you would have a protected storage for the data that website you'd allow that website to use. Also, on the next version is we're now researching the zero knowledge proofs. So I don't see zero knowledge proofs quite as essential as they are in other areas, but there's certain cases, like for instance, if you wanted to prove your age was above 18, zero knowledge proofs would allow you to do that without revealing your actual age. I think there will be good uses for zero knowledge proofs eventually. So so anybody wants to contact us, we have a website. So now I guess if there are any questions.
Hi, Tim.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi. So I got a technical question. Great work.
Yeah, sure.
Really nice. So you mentioned in one of the slides that there is some Atala PRISM component, but also mentioned that the DID and documents are stored on GitHub, or kind of GitHub, right? So why is the role of the Atala PRISM? What are you using, or when, or why, or for what instance are you using Atala PRISM?
Okay, so as you know, the Atala PRISM is just sort of maturing right now. It hasn't had a lot of it's been evolving fairly quickly. So one of the things that we decided was we should be able to do everything ourselves. We should be autonomous. So great to use Atala PRISM and all their capabilities, but what we look at it is a great way to create credentials. They have this great feature where you can create a credential just by attaching the document at the end of the URL. So we support creating credentials through that mechanism, through that method, and we also can create credentials ourselves. So both options are available. As we see more of the API and more of the technical documentation of Atala PRISM that lets us understand the architecture better and so on, we can go deeper and deeper into the integration. There's no sense in in duplicating anything that doesn't need to be. But yeah, we are, you know, our customers are very much demanding, like, we need this right away. So as a risk mitigation, we built pretty much everything into our own. What we did, we built everything into Dominion. It can run solo.
Okay. Oh, nice. And for the DID and all the stuff, are you following the standards like W3C and DIF, other standard for SSI, or it's just a closed system that you developed all the DID, whatever you decide?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my background, I was like enterprise architect, actually an integration architect back in the day, and I worked with some of the predecessors to the DID standard, like WS security, WS integration, and one of the things that I annoyed is that for a while they worked, but then every organization made minor changes, and they did it for a reason. If you're IBM, you don't want a small company to integrate, so you make these minor changes to the standard. So I'm really really strict. I'm really annoyed if I see any kind of like modifications to any standard, because that's what integration is based on. So anybody will integrate very well with anything that has a strict definition of the DID standard. And we're kind of like proposing kind of like a lot of the standard is non-normative. We're kind of trying to see if we can within Cardano normalize these standards so that we don't have to run into these kind of disconnects during integration.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for the presentation. Quick question about the supply chain use case. So I'm a former banker and I did some work with letters of credit, and I certainly know the headaches that the documentation causes. So it's an excellent use case. And maybe you said this and I missed it, but how far along are you? Are you working with financial institutions to replace the paper documents with VCs?
It's not financial institutions. It's an organization that's converting to paperless. They created, Singapore created a product called Trade Trust. And this is this is used by, I guess, hundreds of ports and like 4 countries. And they're harmonizing these documents. And the idea here is to give this software to these countries, and particularly for countries in disadvantaged economically, who would have trouble building this themselves. And so the whole management of flows, the management of identities is self-contained in this product, but whoever would adopt it, let's say tomorrow we're working to try to get Kenya to adopt it, tomorrow Kenya adopt it, they would stand up an instance of this product themselves, and they would work within their own frameworks to integrate with the financial institutions.
That's interesting. Thank you.
It is interesting. We actually added the trusted repository ourselves. Right before us, there was no trusted repository. So I think the assumption was that these documents would exist in either a common data storage, or they would be moved from one bank's data center to the other bank's data center. But because that doesn't quite work in like certain regions of the world, we went ahead and kind of like added our own data storage.
Yeah, well, and the letter of credit process, that document verification and all of the operations that has to be behind it, adds huge cost to the process. So I think that anything that can reduce cost will be amazingly beneficial.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but the numbers they quote are north of 70% cost savings. So it could make a huge impact.
Wow, that's great. Thanks, Tim. Are there any more
Sure.
questions? I know we're at the top of the hour. Thanks, Darius. Awesome. So thanks so much, Tim, for sharing this demo with us and the
Sure.
presentation with us. I think if anybody wants to continue the conversation, you can continue on the Astro Slack channel. Tim is there. Tim, where else can people find you?
Fuixlabs on Twitter. Let me try to move this. You can, yeah, I spend a lot of time, too much time on Twitter, Fuixlabs Twitter, or you can just email at teams@fuixlabs.com or tobrien@fuixlabs.com. So we're very open to any integrations. We're trying to be the community champion did implementer. So anybody who has like even a faint interest in working with us, please reach out.
Fantastic. Well done. Thanks so much, Tim,
Thank you.
for the presentation. I need to run, but if the rest of you want to stay in the room and continue a conversation, that's fine. You're welcome to do so. And Alison, please send me the link to the recording.
Will do. Yeah, I'll stop the recording now and I'll send it to you and also get it up on the Swarm channel.
Fantastic. Thank you
thank-
so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day or evening, everyone.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.